Hey there. So my next guest is in the esports world, but he's taken a kind of a different perspective on it. Instead of worrying about kind of the gaming and the high stakes play, he's actually focused on the entertainment aspect of it. It's really cool, and I really enjoyed this conversation. I know you will all too. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Cody Daniels. Hey there, Cody. How's it going?
I'm doing great. How's it going today?
That's a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about yourself?
Can't complain. I'm in Houston, Texas. It's around 7 p.m. tonight, but it's great out here.
Fantastic. All right. So, Cody, I like in the show, start just right into it. So why don't you begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm located in Houston, Texas. I've been in Houston, Texas my entire life. I graduated college from Texas A&M University in 2013. Background degree was in sports management, so it's something I've always been involved in. Played some athletics in high school, but also in a little bit in college as well. I currently work I actually have two jobs. So I currently work full time for a sporting goods retailer, but I also lead NGame Esports as well, and we do content, but we also do analytics for different organizations within the space.
Fantastic. All right, there's gonna be a lot to talk about. And before we do that, I start every interview with a single question. So I'm gonna ask you, like I ask everybody else, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Cody?
Um, that's that's a very good question. I would say to the people that I talk to that's really around me, I would say seven. I'm weird at a seven.
And why is that?
I would say one thing about me, I'm always motivated to be the best I can be. I have plans. I kind of want to be, like I said, I want to achieve things, but I also want to put myself in position to do that. Most people really they have what they want to do and they want to stay in their lane. As I'm trying to work full time, but also manage my own company, that's kind of weird in itself because most people are not willing to put in that kind of work or really focus on that level. So I would say just the things I want to do versus everybody else makes me more weird.
Wonderful. I love it. All right. Now, Cody, this is the Gamerpreneur podcast, so I do need your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
Oh man, God, I would say my first game I probably around seven when I got Nintendo 64, and it was the one of the I think it was 007 GoldenEye.
Oh, that's a good one. Odd Job is always. I love it. Now, I'm assuming your love for gaming continued since you're now doing something in esports. But
Yeah.
what do you play today, if anything?
Yeah, so really, I play really two games. And then so I actually play NCAA football 14 on Xbox 360. It's been in hiatus for the past, since I guess for the past since 13. So it's been a while. They just announced that EA Sports is bringing back another college football program within the year or two. So excited about that. So I play NCAA football 14, and then I play Ghost Recon. It's the new one. I think it's Breaking Point is what I play.
Okay, cool. Now, of all the games you've played, of all the time you've been playing, if you had to pick one as your all-time favorite, which one is it?
It'd be NCAA football, easy.
What about that one?
What's so crazy about it? I'm all about the process. So the great thing about NCAA football, you can actually create your own identity. Meaning you can pick any team in college football, but the ability to recruit players year after year, you can always try to position yourself to be a great team. You can become the Alabama football in the video game. That's what's so great about it. I can have a bad quarterback, but the process of recruiting good football players allows you to produce and really be a good team. So I love just trying to build something and recruiting players year after year.
So it's not just the sports, it's the strategy that gets you.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Cody, let's get over to the preneur part. Like that was the gaming section, the preneur part. You said you got a full-time job and you got your own business. So why don't we go ahead and start with your current full-time position, and then we'll kind of talk about your business next. All right. So what is it you do?
So I work for a sporting goods retailer. It's Academy Sports and Outdoors. We're based in Texas. We're in I think now 17 states. We have around 260 stores throughout the southern east part of the U.S. most people are probably more familiar with Dick's Sporting Goods or Bass Pro. We consider those guys competitors. And then so I've been in this company for 7 years. I worked in the buying office, the accounting office, but also currently now in the marketing office. So I've been able to kind of get some experience in really three different spots within the company. But I think that experience has really put me in position to really do what I'm doing now for NGame Esports.
Very cool. Now, so you said you've been there for roughly 7 years. That takes you almost to when you graduated college. Has this
Yeah.
been like the entire time since you got out?
So I had a unique experience right out of college. So once I graduated college, I had more like it was more like an internship, but it was a 6 month temp position with Octagon. I was doing event marketing. We was based in Texas. Their client was Toyota at the time, and we basically did event marketing for the Toyota sponsorships with different colleges within the market.
Very cool. Now, what does it take to have like this kind of position? Like those are some lofty titles you just mentioned there.
Well, to me, is really you start from the ground up. The good thing is when I graduated college and got that Octagon sports marketing job, I guess a unique position. I was a student men's basketball manager for the A&M basketball team, and then so I think that on your resume is pretty impressive because everybody knows to be a student manager in any sport, it's a lot of hard work. You're most likely underpaid, but you got to have a passion for what you're doing. So I think that really caught a lot of people's attention. The other thing is too, the person that hired me also went to A&M, so it was kind of an easy conversation, and I was able to sell myself much easier. So that's how I got the Octagon position. Then when I transitioned to Academy, I started as it was called back then a merchant assistant. It's really more data entry, but also writing purchase orders and really creating items to bring in new products. Over time, I got more comfortable, really decided I don't know if retail is what I want to do in my career, but why not take advantage, learn as much as I can? So when I do find out what I want to do, at least I have some kind of skills to bring that to the table. So that's how I started out in the merchant assistant world, then got promoted in it was a replenishment analyst position where we allocated product. It was for team sports. So I allocated footballs, basketballs, jump ropes, whatever it may be to, at that time it was like 180 stores. Then want to go to accounting because I felt, Cody, if you want to lead a company at some point or you want to start your own company, you need to have some fundamentals of accounting and finance to kind of make that work. Did that for a year and a half, and it really didn't fit my personality, but it was something that I felt that was good for me long term in my career. And then so I did that for a year and a half, and then I was able to transition myself into marketing, where I've worked in it. The position was called category marketing. It's really more product marketing in the fishing and the boating space. And then recently now I work in the media space where we do a lot of it's traditional media spot where it's a lot about working audio and video, whether it's linear TV, the stuff that you and I used to watch on TV, or what you can watch now, or YouTube TV or Hulu, things like that. Those different platforms, but also audio when you talk about Spotify, Pandora, but also traditional radio as well.
Very cool. Did you like have any expectation you would end up doing this stuff like when you graduated college?
Not at all. To me, just like most students, the expectation is to find a job and then figure it out from there. Now, some people are fortunate enough where they kind of know what they want to do. I have some friends when they graduated high school, they want to be veterinarians, so they kind of took that path. And to me, the earlier you know what you want to do, the better it will be, because that way you can have a direction and a process to get there. But to me, it was really, Coda, how do you put yourself in position to learn what you want to do? And then once you identify what you want to do, put yourself in position to be the best you can be at that position. So that's kind of my thought
Absolutely.
process.
I love it. All right, now, Cody, please tell me about your business. Let's talk about esports.
Yeah, so NGame Esports, I started NGame Esports in May 2019. At that time, I had no clue about esports. The reason why I started NGame Esports, a few of my friends, they played Madden. I played Madden too, but they was playing in Madden tournaments. So I thought that was interesting. Then one day, I would say spring 2019, we had went to lunch. They kept telling me about how you have traditional sports business leaders investing and owning esports teams and things like that. So I thought that was very unique and interesting. It goes back to my sports management degree. It's something I'm just into. And then so I started doing some research and realized now you got celebrities, but you also had athletes, investors. It was very attractive at the time. So I just wanted to learn more. And so I said, this seems like this is an emerging opportunity that may can see some opportunity for myself. And then so from May 2019 to really March 2020, NGame Esports at the time was just a blog. And so what I would just interview people, something like this. I would interview people about the space, and it was really for me to educate myself about what esports was all about. And so I would interview different people about the space, see what's good about esports, what's bad about esports, what does esports look like in the US, what does it look like overseas, who are those major publishers, what are those major esports gaming titles, all those different things. What does it look like? What does collegiate esports look like? All those things. I just want to educate myself about what's going on in esports and potentially develop a plan to identify where can I really develop a business model. So once that happened through March 2020 is when the US has identified COVID as a pandemic. So unfortunately, I was furloughed from my full-time job academy for about a month and a half to 2 months, right? So unique. I think everybody had to go through some kind of experience, whether it was good or bad, during these tough times. But one of those unique times for me is I had to make a decision. Cody, do you feel sorry for yourself, or do you use this time to focus more on in-game esports? And so I said, Cody, let's focus more on in-game esports and see what we can do. And then so my plan was, Cody, I think esports is a media business, media industry. So I felt like if you can create content that's valuable to other organizations, I think that'd be a good business plan, a good service for a lot of people. And so what I did was just to test my thought process and see if it was worth anything. I hired a few writers, people that knew about esports way more than I did. They've written for other websites, so I guess you can call them experts of know-how of what they're doing. And then once I did that, I reached out to a few websites, said, "Hey guys, we will write for you guys for free, just to see how good our abilities are." Keep in mind, I'm telling these guys you can write for free, and I don't even know if I got a job, at the time. So, but I felt it was all about this is what it had to take. This is what it took to kind of understand and really put yourself out there. It was really about proving how that we could actually provide quality work, but also helped me better understand what's good and what's a good standard, but also working with writers, understanding what they're looking for and how I can support those guys as well. So we did that. I think for about for a month, we wrote for free for two websites. Both websites liked us, and we still write for those organizations today, but they now pay us as well. And so that it worked out very well. And then over time, once I realized, hey, this could be something that I can continue to do, I kind of had a bigger plan. What does this look like over time? How do we make this more of a sustainable company, but also something valuable? And then so today we do two things. We create content with articles from different websites. We also do explainer videos for organizations, just in case. A lot of times in esports, it's people may not know what's going on with that specific organization. We create explainer videos to help them really communicate who they are. Something more like a marketing tool, but also I think it's a great way, a good way to introduce yourself to any organization you may need. But also, we partner with esports charts. They're based overseas, and we connect with those guys. They provide great analytics, and I felt like with me being in the U.S. and those guys being overseas, I can be more of a business development partner for those guys, but also be a day-to-day contact. If they have clients in the U.S., they need help with specific problems or need solutions, I can connect with those guys in the right time zone versus being overseas. So it was very convenient for those guys. So we provide analytics for organizations in North America if they need them, whether it's tournament organizers, whether it's agencies if they're looking at potential streamers, how can they compare those streamers with other streamers and understand what that streamer analytics look like. So that's kind of who in-game esports is.
Wow, that's a lot. So then what was it that made you decide to do this? I know you said it's the entertainment aspect of it,
Mhm.
but why start with writing? Why not go straight to the video? Why was it the written word?
Yeah. So to me, that was the easiest thing for me to understand. And then so writing, it was a simple process for me. It was something simple I can communicate as to what we do. And it was a process I was able to kind of replicate. So it was very easy for me to identify some good writers and then connect with those writers and identify what games do you write about, what games do you not write about. And to me, it's writing is it was a good entry point to esports and understanding of something we could do. Over time, that's when I realized video is a good component of this, and then analytics is a good part as well. Writing was just an easy way to get in the business and to understand if this was a pretty good opportunity or not.
Okay, fantastic. Now, is this your first business?
No, so this is actually my second business. I really before I started NGame Esports, I come from a small town, so I actually had a tutoring business where we whether it was SAT prep, math or reading or language. So I did that. Even though I'm based in Houston, I come from a small town in LaGrange, Texas, which is like 5,000. So I had like 8 teachers, and we was helping students really educate themselves. It really helping students out because the school system at the time didn't have a tutoring program that was really that could help these students in the way they needed it. So I would work with retired teachers and really develop a process to kind of help them work with students throughout the community.
Very cool. All right, now back to in-game esports real quick.
Mhm.
What have you learned about esports well as you've been going through this journey? Because like you said, you knew nothing when you first started, but
Yeah.
now you've been going through this process, you've been, really digging in. What are some of like the major challenges you're seeing?
Yeah, I think to me it's esports is still in its early stage, right? I think the industry is still trying to identify better governance, better legalization, but also better processes. I think it's slowly happening. I still think esports needs more traditional business leaders, whether it's sports leaders or any other industry leaders to really develop the right process. I think personally, esports is still led by a bunch of gamers, which is fine, but they don't understand the business aspect. If the esports industry would like to attract more major brands, you got to think at their level, right? If you are a tournament organizer and you want Coca-Cola to be your sponsor, you need to understand that they want high level analytics, they want great professionalism, they want presentations, they want you to communicate the value now and within the next 5 years. You got to think short term and long term with these kind of organizations. So, and I think we don't have enough people that understand that yet, but it's coming over time. So I think that's a big one. The other one is the esports industry is still educating parents, but also school administrators about the great things about esports. Whether it's not just playing video games. It's a social tool to bring people together. But now you got more and more colleges in the U.S. offering scholarships as well, and then it's almost a career pathway opportunity that over time, as colleges continue to get better infrastructures around esports, you got some colleges that have a great infrastructure. Some colleges are still student-led programs, which is fine. But I think over time, you need a professional program or organization, somebody that can lead that program from start to finish and really boost the great things about esports.
Fantastic. All right, Cody, let's talk a little about you a bit more if we can.
Mhm.
Um, you've accomplished a lot. Like that's pretty incredible what you've been able to build. And you've only been out of college, less than 10 years. It's
Mhm.
right. That's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
What makes you special? Like not everybody's able to do this, right? You probably know people in your life who weren't able to get to where you are. What makes you different? What makes you unique that gets you above everybody else?
Like I said, I don't know if I'm special enough, but I think from what I've compared to what most people, to me, it's really at some point you have to identify who you want to be in life, and that's different for everybody, right? Identify who you want to be, and then how do you develop a plan or a process to kind of get to where you want to go, and then you have to commit to that, right? And so when I made a decision that when I made a decision to start NGame Esports, the first 6 months was all about educating myself about the industry to take my company to the next level. I did that, and then the pandemic kind of forced me to figure out right now, Cody, are you ready to make this next move? And I was kind of forced to do so. But then I was committed to learning. Like, to me, you always got to be committed to learning. But then I was really to take the next steps of action and identify, hey, Cody, this is an idea that you have. You got to go prove it out. And so when I reached out to those different websites, I was able to prove that we actually have something that's worth paying for, but it's actually valuable to those guys. Once I learned that, then it was learning from that and then taking more and more steps. So I think the challenge is for most people, it's it's identifying who you want to be. Most people have no idea. Like I got family members, in their 40s or 30s or 40s, they have no idea who they want to be. At some point, you got to know to be a doctor, you gotta want to be a doctor, right? Or whatever you want to do in life. At some point, like the podcast you're doing right now, at some point you have to make a decision. This is what I want to do. What are those steps to get me there? And then what are the things I have to do every day to make sure I provide great content, I bring in great speakers, all those things you have to get better at. Like earlier you said, you always ask, how do you say your name? Because sometimes it's different. Those are the little things that you just have to learn as you go, but you kept doing and you kept learning. So to me, it's identifying who you want to be and doing everything you can to put yourself in position. Even though I have a full-time job, I'm very passionate about esports, very passionate about NGame Esports, and I'm willing to do everything I can to kind of see it, take the next step.
Beautiful. Oh man, this is great. Okay. Now, Cody, you mentioned over and over again how much you have to learn. You have to keep learning, keep learning. What resources are you turning to in order to get that knowledge?
Yeah. Well, so I'm kind of a weird guy, and this kind of goes back to my weird situation. So what I've been doing a lot, I would say even since college, and to me, when I say learning, it's any industry. So I do a lot of time. I can watch like right earlier today, I was watching watch YouTube a lot, but I was watching a guy. He co-founded the Blackstone Group, Charles Schwartzman, which is I think a billionaire. But then I was watching. He was talking about how he built the process, how he built this company. I can watch Wall Street videos. I can watch sports videos. It's really watching business leaders within any industry talk about how they lead people, how they got to where they are, but also understanding that they had challenges as well, and understanding it takes time. But also, I read Inc. magazine, the website. I think it's Inc.com. I'm a huge fan of that website as well. So I'm always looking at it may not be esports related, but it's definitely business related. And I'm always attracted to learning, even if it's just one thing. How do people get to where they are? But I also, in many cases, they provide some type of wisdom. Hey, I did this, it worked for me, or you should always do this, whatever it may be. I'm always trying to capture little nuggets, everywhere I'm watching content.
Beautiful. Okay. Now, Cody, I would like you to go back in time with me to, I guess it was
Mhm.
March of last year when the
Yep.
pandemic struck and you were furloughed. If you could go back then and you could talk to yourself and you can impart all the wisdom you've gained over the past year, you could tell
Mhm.
yourself everything that was going to happen, but you had to tell yourself like one thing he absolutely has to know. What do you tell yourself?
You have to be patient. I think when you're building a company, and then it's hard to be patient back then, especially when you don't know if you have a full-time, have a job or whatever it may be. But I think I was in such a rush to try to make this work out. Maybe that was a good thing, but you have to be patient because it's all about timing, right? I didn't know what I was doing back then, and so to me, the advice would be you got to be patient. You got to understand that you're bringing value to the table as well, but sometimes people make decisions throughout the year. People have budgets. People make their budgets throughout the year as well. So it's important to understand you need to be patient, but also be willing to take advantage of the opportunities you currently have. And how do you learn from those opportunities and how do you improve to kind of keep the thing going? So it's to me, it's patience.
Okay, well, fantastic. Now, I'd like to talk a little more personally, if we can. You see, I believe that we learn the most in our life from our failures, not necessarily our successes. Because when you succeed, you may not know what happened and just like,
Hmm.
right? But if you, when you
Yep.
fail, you got to take a look at what happened. You got to examine that and then be able to move forward past it. So I'd like to ask you, what do you consider your biggest failure in life, and what did you learn from it?
And to me, when I graduated high school, I had got a scholarship to play at Texas A&M Kingsville. It was a Division II school in South Texas. Great opportunity. I was like most guys. I thought I was going pro. But it was exciting opportunity. They gave me an opportunity to play football at the collegiate level. Great experience, but it was something. But I noticed I wasn't happy, and I thought, thinking about it now, it was more of a football decision instead of a life decision. But I had some great memories with these organizations, but it didn't really work out. It didn't really work out. And then when I came to Texas A&M University in College Station, I actually tried to walk on the football team twice. And then so that kind of was, I would say, in the past 8 to 10 years, that's been like my biggest downward. really the first time I had some crazy adversity, and then I actually worked as hard as I could the next year to put myself in that position, and I still didn't make the team. So I really had I was down for a few weeks. I really my family understood how hard I worked. But to me, it was about Cody. You got to think about it this way: your athletic ability got you to Texas A&M Kingsville, but your brain got you to Texas A&M University. So I said, maybe you should pass on the athletics and focus on using your brain a little bit more. And then that's what I learned from that is sometimes it's right, the answer's right in front of you. Sometimes it's really take advantage of your strengths and kind of push those and go as far as you can. So the failure really taught me was, hey Cody, maybe this is not for you. Not saying to quit, but use that same passion you did for what you want to do and do something else and see what it takes you. Right? If the signs were already there, but it was really you got to have the mentality to understand. All right, Cody, it's been good. Now it's time to focus on something else because you actually might be better at something else. So it was really being down. It was a passion. I've had a passion of playing sports probably since middle school. I had to make that decision my sophomore year in college. All right, it's time to stop and think about what the future looks like. But the great thing in during that time frame, I think what helped me, I think it was a business law class at A&M, and then I had to go talk to the teacher because I had a question about a few concepts she shared in the classroom. But it was about 10 people waiting in line before I was there, and so I just sat down in the office area. But then it was the first time ever they had Forbes business magazines on the coffee table, and so for I had to wait for like 20 minutes. So for about 15 minutes, I was just reading those magazines. But then that's kind of when it clicked. I think it was a it just happened to have I think it was about I think it was because it Forbes also do a sports business section. So I was reading that section. So I was for the first time ever, I was really exposed to the other things that sports brings to the table, not just being an athlete. So it's a unique situation, but being, failing twice and really trying to pick myself back up and identifying what's next. I think that was a huge challenge for me, but I was able to overcome that.
And that's so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Cody. Now, on the flip side, what is it? What is something that you're working to improve on yourself today?
To me, I think one thing I need to do, one thing I learned time management, I learned in college, time management is a big deal. And I do that now with my full-time job, but also in-game esports. But to me, I want to be able to think long term a little bit better, meaning as I try to build in-game esports, I need to do a better job of thinking about what I want in-game esports the next 5 to 10 years. That way I can have that way when I'm communicating who we are as an organization, but also as I'm trying to explain to clients who we are and what we bring to the table, I think it's important to have a vision of what you want to become. That way, it's very clear to organizations that may not know who you are, or at some point, if we have investors, it's very clear to understand where you want to go and who you want to be. That way, if they understand that, they can follow you as well. So it's really being a strategic thinker and thinking long term.
Absolutely. All right, Cody, this has been a fantastic interview. How do people find you in-game esports? Where you guys on social media handles, emails, all that, please?
Yeah, and then so we have a LinkedIn, so you can just go to a LinkedIn company page. You go to LinkedIn and type in NGame Esports, you can see our company page. We use LinkedIn to really connect with different organizations, but we have press releases and we share and we write content. We still write topics about the industry. We share that, and then we have a Twitter account where it's kind of unique versus a lot of other organizations in the esports space. We focus more since we are a B2B organization and we work with esports business leaders and gaming business leaders. We actually provide weekly content and insights about how to be a better manager. So, for example, it's how to work with your team remotely, how to use social media to grow your brand, things like that. It's not really a traditional what an esports company does is, but we want to provide content to the people that we work with. That way, any esports manager, whether you are a marketing manager for an esports team or you work for Xbox and you're engineer, those kind of and you lead a team. We want to provide that kind of content that provide advice. And then in-game esports. So it's in-game NGame dash esports.com is our company website. We have topics that we talk about the different industry. We also have a few understanding of who we are, and we can showcase our team as well.
Beautiful. All right, Cody, now that we're wrapping up, do you have any final thoughts you want to share? Or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
Nothing much. It's just really more about, I've been in this industry now for about I guess almost 2 years now, and it's really been exciting. I think the industry has a lot of runway to kind of keep things going. I think the more and more we can kind of communicate the value esports bring into people outside, the better it is for everybody in the space.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for coming on with us today, Cody. I genuinely do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and I enjoyed the conversation.
Absolutely. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.